I am Christy Zlatos from the libraries, and I'm here today to do really three big things. We're going to talk about optimizing your library online searching. We're going to utilize interlibrary loans, and we're going to better understand the library's approach to your journals subscriptions in order to get the resources that you need. If we look at our collections, the library every year does $7 million in our budgets. Of that, we do $100,000 to $120,000 in interlibrary loans. And that means that we get the things for faculty, staff, and students that we don't presently have. I'm here to tell you all to please take advantage of that content. The overwhelming share of our collections budget goes to pay for licensed content, and we buy a lot of aggregated content, and not so much these days to pay for journals or books. We do buy both printed and ebooks now, but definitely not as many as the journals. As you know from using the site, you have to authenticate to use all of this, and you have your WSU authentication. It works on our site, and it should be easy to use, just like many WSU items. We get what we don't have through two types of loans. We have summit loans from our Pacific Northwest higher education institutional partners. We have 38 libraries, and we run a shuttle all around from the west side. And what we don't get from our institutional partners, we get over interlibrary loan, and that is nationally and internationally. Now, if we get, we have it now that we can get things 2 to 3 days for a summit book and 24 to 48 hours for an electronic article PDF. We are really pleased with that turnaround. It's a new shuttle that enables us to get those books across the Cascades that fast, and we're really pleased with that. Whoa. Google Scholar, the library databases, and Search It are all tied together behind the scenes to give you resources that you need. Again, authentication is key, and by clicking the request item through interlibrary loan, we can fill out the form automatically, although first-time users need to fill in the personal info section to get your account ready to go. We're going to try to do this, and I'm not sure how to get maybe this is the way. Here we go. Interlibrary loan can be had through the services pull down here, and you can go directly to log in like so, and password, and there we go. The first time, need to work on your personal info section. That's all my personal info right there. It tells me what I prefer. You can hold for pickup. You can mail to address. You've got options there. And it's basically how to get a hold of me. So when we back out of this and go back to our library, oops, it's not going to do it for me. Guess what? Okay, so when we, and again, because we have so many books in the Midwest, or in the Pacific Northwest, I had to look for a ringer that we didn't have, and I found The Man Who Walked with Death here in order to find it.
Okay.
And here's a quickie on our searching here. If you do a phrase search like you would in Google, you will search this as a phrase. And you can do it here and the last name, Forler, and there you go. No things found. And again, we look at our Google, our WorldCat here. Okay, boy, we're not doing that here. We have to back up, cut and paste. Let's see. I'm sorry, I'm not. I'm really screwing this up. Guess what? We'll go to WorldCat. Isn't that interesting? Hold on. The Man Who Walked with Death. And there you go. When you get to here, we request through Interlibrary Loan. And it should fill this all out for us. Bravo. And all you have to do, it tells us where we verified it, WorldCat, and you just submit the request. It's that simple. As
you were already logged in as yourself into your account before the search, correct?
if you're working from your desk and you use this all the time, and if you have the personal info,
Okay.
it should know it's
Okay.
you.
Okay.
That said, I would recommend that when you go to the library site and you begin searching, it is good to log in to the search it system, and it's very easy to get in. Yeah, and it's like that, and I didn't change my password because I was worried that I wouldn't be able to remember a new one. And then it gives you your loans, what you've got going here. And from there, you can look at a new search. You can, basically do all the kinds of things that we have. And there are things that are here like the database list, and we have about 160 databases total that we pay a lot of money for, and then there are 700 and some odd or 600 additional ones. But from the site here, you can have a look at the databases. We put specialized guides together for folks, and all of these services give you additional things like the course reserves, the interlibrary loan. We have an institutional repository called the Research Exchange that we would love to take your items that you want to share with the world, and you may not have, they may be different than the published version, but give them to us. They get picked up by Google and Google Scholar, and that's a really kind of nice thing to do. Purchase request is down also, and these are very nice things. So that's our site. Google Scholar and the databases that we have, like Education Full Text, the College of Ed kind of uses that one. They are all, the journals are organized by the Search It system that we have here. And what I mean to say is if you get your, like Google Scholar, and I know many of us love Google Scholar, going. And if you're in Google Scholar and you go up to the settings and get your library links, okay, you get library links like that. All of these servers here enable us to field your requests so you get the same content as if you would be searching Search It. And I tell folks that because it's just very important, and it's something to remember. For classes, I spend an incredible amount of time on how to search, but I gave you my favorite little cheat sheet here, so you can take that home, learn phrase searching. You can learn the Boolean search terms and or a not. You can learn wildcard characters, and you can select pull downs for search scope. And I've given you Google Scholar and Search It right here, but it basically works with all of the databases that we have. And that's kind of a neat item. The putting your library links into our settings works best if you're not on a WSU campus. If you're on campus, they kind of do it automatically because we know your IP addresses. So this works from at home when on your private laptops when you want to be connected with the library stuff. All the time, I always get kids coming, particularly at this time, and they will say, I'm just so sick of paying $22 an article. Well, please don't pay $20 an article or $40 an article. Please use our interlibrary loan services and you won't have to. So back to our, let's see if we can go back. And
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes, please.
So if I find something in here, and so I see how I've linked now on here, I see the same thing. I find it here and I can connect, since it knows I'm linked to WSU's library, I could do the same thing as by requesting that through Interlibrary Loan, and it'll automatically populate as well.
It should, yes.
Okay.
We can try it if you want,
No,
but
it's fine. I trust you. I didn't know you could do that. That's
no,
really
I
good.
mean, then see, that's
That's
why
really
I'm
good.
down here and
Yeah,
this is
okay.
good.
And I'm guessing other people probably don't realize this.
Yes, no, I mean, it's good, and we want to make it so that you know, your Google Scholar goes into Search It, and Search It is a search engine like Google, and Search It goes out and gets content and then packages it for you and tells you in Google Scholar that we have it or what have you. So that's kind of a neat thing. And going to go back to current slide. And okay, so again, we have Google Scholar hints. They're on this searching thing to get us going. Search It is not a database, but a search engine like Google. And again, here we go. It organizes your content and gives you results. For education folks, we have a database that you probably all know about called Education Full Text. The thing about a database that's really good is that it's a finite thing. It contains definite things, and it depends on search it again to give you access to many of those journals. But the indexing in here is a database, and if you use a lot of library sources, you will come to realize that the database is kind of a good thing. This is best for mainline education journals containing indexing for 1,100 of them. And many of these have full text articles, but it is a totally full text. On some things we have embargoes that delay the articles, and some we do not have the full text for and need interlibrary loan. So I can show this and you can see it quickly. And again, you go into databases, you get voila, comes right up. And it comes to the advanced search. That's always a good thing. But there are many pull downs here that will give you very nice things. The students love the scholarly peer-reviewed journals, but publication types, that's kind of useful if you only want, review articles, for example. And we have different, document types from opinions and reviews and juvenile literature. And so if you're looking for these things, these pull downs actually really help. We can find images for you for your classes. And you can limit by PDF full text, all kinds of possibilities. And always remember these field things, because sometimes a title search, if your esoteric word is in the title, you know the author, you have all of these things, and you can search your topic in a specific journal, which is always nice. And combining them with the and here. A database is nice. It's just, now we know that, you are all interested in interdisciplinary topics. So education is education, but you also may need Web of Science for your technology. You may need a database like PsycInfo for human topics. And so to field those things, what we have, let's see if we can do library. Oh, bless you. One more time. We have subject guides. And there's one for all kinds of education. And if you have critiques and what have you of these things, we give general hints. There I am. You can contact me easily. These key databases, very useful because it'll take you in quickly, just like that, or we should if we're running Zippy, and maybe we're not. There we go. So that's kind of useful, and
You can switch databases from here, right? Where it says choose databases.
sure can, as long as it's an EBSCO host database.
Okay.
And again, I mean, you know, Psych Info is put out by the American Psychological Association, and so there are many, many makers of these databases.
You have to search more than one database at the same time? Or is that?
It used to be able to, but not, we don't.
I was just trying, I didn't actually do it, but I pulled up the page where it was letting me select multiple
You
districts.
don't find like this plus I can boom.
I think it,
As long as.
yeah, I think it was just the ones that are on.
Or
this
yeah,
list.
EBSCO, okay. It has to be
Yeah,
EBSCO database,
has to be
okay,
an
got it,
EBSCO
okay,
database,
okay.
yeah. You'll have to try it.
I was scared to actually try it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Try everything.
Yeah, that's very cool.
That's what's great is that you can't hurt it, you know, and you can do whatever you want and just play with it.
Yeah, it looks like it, that was great.
So 3 search possibilities there, and we know there are many more. And that's what you got.
Would you mind going back to that screen because I have one question?
The EBSCO one?
Yeah, like if you hit the back button where you had that list of under education.
Yeah.
So if you go down a little, you see the EBSCO, H.W. Wilson. So it looks really similar, but are those, so, sorry, middle and junior high core
Oh, yeah.
question. What's the difference there? Is that a subset under?
That's another EBSCO database. I mean, we all, you know, librarians like to make things in categories. And so EBSCO puts out a whole bunch of these databases, and we, you know, and again, the only way to join them really is the way you said, when you can choose multiple databases, and maybe we can do that, and if we've had an interest here. Oh, okay, well, there,
It looks
yeah,
like you can choose every one of them or select.
yes, you sure can.
Yeah, that's cool.
The very basic one that we use with a lot of undergraduates, Academic Search Complete, does a lot of newspapers, and you will find buckets of these things, but it is not complete because we have other makers and a lot of stuff. So, back to our PowerPoint. Okay, we're on the 3rd leg of our little show here, and we're talking about your library subscriptions. And most of this stuff you probably know, but institutional subscriptions are more expensive than individual subscriptions. And that's a geometric thing most of the time, and that's why libraries have a really tough time. We talked about at first our $7 million that we spend a year, and we spend most of that on journals, 90-10 ratio journals to books. Another thing that you might not know, we license aggregated content that is negotiated by multi-year contracts from brokers like Elsevier, Taylor and Francis, Sage, Wiley, IEEE, American Chemical Society, Cambridge, and Oxford. That's only a partial list. And we tie up a lot of money that way. And these contracts are more difficult to cancel than individual journal subscriptions. And that's a real problem. If we suddenly had a huge cancellation today, we would be in problems trying to get these big contracts canceled. And so what happens is that we, up until now, have generally canceled a lot of individual journal subscriptions because they were like low-hanging fruit. And we have had to maintain these big contracts. And because we don't have many unimportant individual journal subscriptions now, the next time we do cancel, we're going to have to look at these big contracts. And to be quite honest, right now, we have not canceled a lot of contracts so far, but this is could be changing. In canceling a journal, we look at 3 things, and they're ranked: article downloads, citations to WSU authored papers, and WSU authored articles. So we try to prefer the article or the journals from the articles that we are downloading, and that would include students and faculty and everybody. And then we would look to how many people are citing our WSU authored papers, and then lastly, WSU authored articles. It goes without saying that if we do another big cancellation, and we honestly don't know, we think we're in pretty good shape. The provost bailed us out the last time, and if we have a cancellation, we'll have to rely on interlibrary loan more than ever. So it's good that we've been able to gather today to figure out how to do it.
Can I ask a question on the data? So for use, I think from a teaching point of view, and probably also working with doctoral students, a lot of times I think faculty have libraries of articles that they've collected over the years and share that within the free right, the Fair Use Act for students. So they're not going out and finding those articles all the time. Just much different than when I went to school, because we had to go copy everything and get it ourselves. But it seems like for the library to know that those resources are actually being used, a different way of going about practice would be to have the students go and obtain that article for themselves. So you see that it's being used in the classroom or for research, because now some practices you would never know that a certain journal or certain articles are being accessed. Does that make sense?
That makes sense to me.
In my classes, when I post articles to the Blackboard, for that exact reason, because of last time when there was that thread of all these cancellations. But I link it to the library website for that article, so they don't have to go find it. They just have to click on the link, sign in, download it.
Download it, okay. But then it shows usage, okay.
Articles.
Okay, okay, that's great.
That's a really good
I
point.
like that. But that's something we probably would want to encourage our faculty and TAs to get in the habit of doing, so it shows you the usage that we have for those articles and journals.
Yes.
Okay.
No, I think that's a great point. So we're getting to my takeaways. Librarians are a great resource to support you. We want to get the things you need. I want to talk with you in order to come up with the journals that you are using and how we can better serve your needs. Understand that the Summit loans and the Interlibrary loans are free at WSU and speedy. And I hope you understand something about how hard it is to add new journal titles in this current climate. But at the same time, our journal collections need to evolve. I mean, it's the hardest thing in the world, but every year, I mean, all of you probably recommend about a dozen things. And we're not very good at getting these things, but hopefully we can be better in the future. Now, I have spreadsheet compilations of the journals you need here, but your survey will be absolutely important to find the journals that you need, and also the journals you wish to protect through possible cancellations coming. And that will certainly help. That's almost another way that certainly I can say to our administrators, look, this is not being clicked on, but everybody put it down as a must-have item. And that's going to be really important. So, do not be strangers. I cannot not see some of you, but please, let's thank you for having me. And yeah, well, let's talk about what you all need.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was very useful.
Do you have questions about searching?
Well, I have a couple of questions that came up. One thing that I've had trouble with Interlibrary Loan and Summit, but mostly Interlibrary Loan, is just the loan period is so short in comparison to what we get if we get something through the WSU library, or from the WSU library. And so I'm just wondering, I've heard some other grad students talk about ways that they get around that, like when they get the first one, they'll go ahead and order another one so that when they have to return that, they'll have a new book coming in soon. But do you have any advice on that front? Because that's a pretty cumbersome process to try to juggle books so that you might need for longer than you can get them from another. Any thoughts on that?
Well, yes, I mean, the book thing is folks tend to want the newest books. The things are just coming out. And people, I mean, they line up for these things. So you've got a way of getting around, and I have heard that as well. It's cumbersome, but please understand that we have 38 member partners. They all seem to be wanting the same cutting edge new book that's coming out. And you've got people standing in line for these things, and if you've got a way around that, you know, we used to factor in traveling time on books, and you know, it's a hard thing because we have to think, okay, it's got to go 2 days here, 2 days back, and that's almost another work week. And so these things, that thing is short for a reason.
Oh, yeah.
And also to urge people to do their work with it as quickly as they can. But thank you for that note, and I will take that back to our access services.
And I totally understand the reason for the short loan period. It's just not always, sometimes it's not an issue at all, right? But sometimes it, like prelims, for example, I couldn't take any library books with me because I went and stayed in a cabin to do my prelims, and I couldn't take any of my interlibrary loan books with me because of the short turnaround period. So I was like taking pictures on my phone of pages that I knew I would need so I could resubmit them. And like you said, it used to be that way for everybody, right? So I'm probably just very privileged in my library access and not used to that. But I was just wondering if there was something that I was missing, maybe that I didn't know.
I wish there could be. You know, and we think that ebooks are going to be better because they're faster. No 2 day to get them here, no 2 day to get them back. But you know, I don't know.
But there are still limits on those, correct? I mean, it's not.
Ebooks, that's very interesting. I'm glad you brought this up because if we have demand for an ebook, I can call EBSCO and get them to extend our license from 1 person getting it at a time to 3 people getting it at a time, or an unlimited amount of people getting it at a time. And the unlimited one, of course, this costs money every time. But if you want your students to access this, if it's an ebook, I can work with them on that. And that's a nice thing. Now, I'd love to work with you. I've only done it in maybe 2 or 3 cases.
So should individuals just email you in that case directly?
Yes.
Or should we create a list to give it to Brian and then only email you once? Are you
No,
okay?
no. I mean, I don't know how often. I mean, obviously, if I get 25 emails when I'm walking up the street here. I'm gonna have to rethink, but
Okay.
that's for now. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
No, we can, that is actually, so ebooks have a lot of potential. And a lot of potential in solving, the problem with textbook costs, but obviously, like Pearson doesn't offer this, it's only like monographs that come from, EBSCO or ProQuest, one of those.
And, you mentioned the research exchange,
Yes.
and that was very interesting to me. Is that just, you're just asking people to drop stuff there, or is that a searchable?
That is a searchable, yes, item. Let's see what that looks like.
It's under services, right? Yeah.
Yeah, let's get, okay. Oh, this is wonderful. Let's see, research exchange, there it is. And you can search it. We've got communities and collections. And you can go down here and get College of Education. I think it's education. There you go. Voila.
And is it just within WSU?
Yes, yes. Sometimes if you did work and you're WSU, but you have collaborators from around the country or the world, you can put your stuff with them in there. Yeah, so we've got, let's see what we got. I'm so happy.
Huh.
But we got the recent submissions here, and you might know some of these folks. We put the dissertations in here,
Okay.
but we could put all kinds of things. And you've got a newsletter place and place for faculty and graduate students. And it's just kind of, you need to play with it. But increasing the items in here is a wonderful thing to do. And what you can also, note that it gets you some use in that it is picked up by Google and Google Scholar.
So it's not just people inside WSU searching it.
Well,
Or is it just WSU people are allowed to search this?
you can, anybody can search it, contributing to it.
Contribute is
Yeah.
us.
Yes.
But if I was to search Google Scholar, it might come up on Google Scholar as being in this database, which
Yes.
it might not be in a different database.
No, it's gonna be here and it's where it lives.
Okay.
And it's a wonderful thing to get your stuff out there. And, I've got things that I've created, like learning objects and things like that in there. And folks use them in China. And you can look at your own metadata to see who is looking at your stuff. It's very fun.
And so can graduate students submit to this as well?
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't know it existed. That's great.
Oh, please, yes, we would love to, and I'm certainly willing to help you get your
Yeah.
stuff up.
I'm thinking just for students when they publish a paper and it comes out, when it's sitting like online first somewhere, they could put it in here as well, the proofed copy or the ready to release copy. And it might get exposure sooner than waiting a year for it to actually be out in press,
That's a great idea. Yeah.
especially for students.
And students who are going on the job market soon. that might
Yeah,
wanna
exactly.
try to make stuff more
Okay.
searchable.
No, there are all kinds of possibilities, but this is an underutilized source that could be used more.
Great.
The only other question that
Yes,
I
let's hear
have for now is education full text. So I've been using a lot of different databases the last couple of weeks, and I've noticed that education full text doesn't have a language option. Is everything in there in English already, or does it just not let you filter that?
Wow. Okay, so, You know, to tell you the truth, that's a great observation. I mean, if you go to site info, they have buckets of languages in there.
I think this is actually the only one where I haven't found that option so far, so.
I talk with the indexers every once in a while. I'll ask. Certainly we would have things in Spanish and French, and that's good. And I can't really tell you why. You know, one thing that the Google Scholar will do is turn the text in a whole bunch of different languages, and that's really kind of useful for international students. I do a lot of that when I sit and do consultations, and the format is absolutely the same in any of the languages you have, and I always have them read it to me, and so that's really fun. But education full text, I don't know. So
I guess I did just think of one more question if everybody's okay.
yeah, well, let's hit it.
How about any tips for when I pull things from multiple databases? So I know if I put stuff in a folder on EBSCO, it won't duplicate things, right? So I won't have 5 of the same article. But if I'm pulling from different databases and then downloading that, I have a lot of multiples, duplicates. And is there a trick to locating those other than having to just search, like Control F in Excel, and to search for each one to weed out the duplicates? You know,
Wow. Do you use a reference management software option like Zotero? I mean, that
I've tried so many times and I get really frustrated with it.
okay.
But no, I have folders and Excel documents and really old school in that way, I guess.
No, I think that's wonderful, but and what you're doing is probably faster, because I mean there are problems with learning Zotero and all of that as well. But certainly, yeah, no, I can't help there. I have to sit there, and there's no easy option for that.
That's what everybody's told me so far, so. Keep asking until I finish the job or until somebody gives me a better way to do it.
Well, I hope you finish the job soon.
So I have a question that may be important to our faculty. You mentioned that, you know, you might get from each college, you might get, say, a list of 12 that they'd like you to keep and not cut, 12 journals. That's just an example you threw out. But is there a certain amount or a limit if we send you a list of the most useful and needed journals that we want you to keep? Do we need to limit it to a certain amount because you only have so much money? Or can we send you a list of 25, 50 that are really important to us? As far as letting you know what is the most important to the COE.
I would say that number is unlimited. I mean, we should have most of them. We hope. We hope we have most of them. And again, I'm always surprised what people like structural equation. And it's just like, you do what? So that was a new one for me. But honestly, we should be able to do pretty well. And then we would endeavor to get the ones that you and your faculty want.
Okay, that's great. We'll give you a complete list then. But
Yes.
I was
Oh,
just
yes.
wondering if we had to focus. Sounds like no. Go ahead and share everything we need. That's wonderful news.
I mean, I'll tell you what, if they came up and you had a couple hundred of them, I'd probably come back to you and ask you to
Right.
categorize them or rank them or something. So it'd be like that.
Well, thank you very much for your time. This is super helpful. We'll have it's recorded, so it'll be online too, so people can go back and view this. And we'll encourage faculty and graduate students to contact you if they have questions and help with their searching.
And you mentioned one more quick question. You mentioned that you have multi-year contracts, or maybe you're looking each year at what journals are the most necessary. Is there a time of year that it's best to send you those lists of, our most important journals? Do you need this sooner rather than later? Or every fall? Is there kind of a timeline on that?
No timeline, but I mean, if you happen to hear that the library's facing a cancellation, then we would be going really hard as quickly as we could.
Okay, that's nice to know too. Thank you so much.
So far, so good. If you have the option to talk to your bosses or, and to tell them that the library really does use all of the money it gets.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
That's great.
Well, thank you, and thank you for your service to the college as well. We
Thank
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Maybe I'll stop recording.